It is recording in progress, whatever that means.
Right.
Different tonight.
Yeah, we got
George and
my old mate Terry.
Hi guys, it's lovely to see you.
Yeah, nice one. Nice one, Terry.
I haven't seen you for about 2 years, have I, Don?
Has it been that long?
That's when you stayed with us, yeah. I think
that
so.
when we came up for the Liverpool thing?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we need to tell people who Terry is.
Yeah, okay then. Well, Terry, I mean, was it 73 or 74 we first met Terry?
We're just discussing that with Chris before we came on air, and it was from about that time, yeah.
Yeah, because that was with Colonel Bagshot then, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Colonel Bagshot then, and then, if I remember right, what if I can explain, Chris, Slade, we just come off a big American tour, like 8 weeks, you know, I mean, we were literally mentally and physically gone, really. And then we had, I think it was 2 or 3 days off. And then we were going to meet Colonel Bagshot at Birmingham Airport. That's right, wasn't it, Terry?
It certainly was, yeah.
Yeah, and when we got there, Nod collapsed, you know, and we all shouted, "Stay down, stay down." I mean, we'd literally just done this big, 8-week American tour. We only have 4 days off in 8 weeks, you know, and we do the usual. You know what it's like, Terry. We did like New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, Miami, you know, sort of, it was like 4 or 5 hours every day on the plane, you know, and it really was physically and mentally shattering, it was. And when we came back, we only had a couple of days off before we started this European tour with the guys. And we met the guys at Birmingham Airport, and that's where, like I said, that's where Knock collapsed. And he had to go to hospital, and it allowed us a couple of days breathing space at home. Now, that's what I meant to ask you, Terry. Did you go back home, or did you fly to Brussels?
I had a chat with, I'm still friendly with all the guys in the band, the old band, and I had a chat with Brian, but none of us could remember if we actually did go back home. But I have a feeling that you went and did a gig in Iceland.
No, that was a different time. That was, Terry. That was a different thing. Yeah, we did a gig in Iceland before. I think before we actually thinking about it now, it was. I thought we did. It was before the European tour, but I thought it was later than that, Terry. When we did the tour together.
Yeah, I know that we didn't do it because there wasn't room on the plane, and I remember one of the roadies telling me, one of your guys, saying that they had to bundle all the equipment on a freighter, and they had to get in with all the equipment.
Yeah, it was nightmare. It was a nightmare, and it was one of those situations that time of year when it was light 24 hours. You know, and I needed pitch black before I can go to sleep. And it was awful for me. It was anyway. But I remember, I don't know, I can't remember where the first gig was now, because Brussels was put on to the end of the tour, wasn't it? Because that was the one that was cancelled. I seem to remember that. Was that right, Terry?
No, I think we started off in Brussels because because we ended up there on our own for a couple of days.
That's it.
While you caught up, and I remember the first gig. It was at the Forest Stadium.
Forest National, great gig.
That's the one.
Like I said, we've been talking earlier, Chris. It was a fantastic, about 18,000 one. It's a big gig, wasn't it?
It was, well, certainly the biggest gig I'd ever done up until then.
If I remember right, so I came in the dressing room just to say hi to you guys, and you were scared stiff. Yeah, well, we were exactly the same, Terry, when we first went to America, supporting our first American tour, supporting Humble Pie. And if I remember right, the first gig was the Spectrum in Philadelphia, which that was another 20,000 seater. It's where, actually, I found out later, it's where they filmed a lot of the fight scenes for the Rocky films.
Oh,
You know,
right.
and,
Yeah.
but it was a great gig, that was. I mean, we did it a few times after, but I can imagine what it was like for you, because we had the same thing over
Yeah.
there. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. I mean, we can just carry on talking, can't we, Chris?
It's your show, Don.
I remember that first tour of America, Terry, was the same as you. And well, we were allowed about 10 minutes sound check. And because whoever was top of the bill in the States, and that time it was Humble Pie, it was their show basically, and they were really good. And I think second on the bill was Jay Giles' band, and we had about 10 minutes for a sound check. And I remember the sound guy, one of the sound guys, he was putting a monitor behind me, and I said, "What's that for?" He said, "That's your fallback, man." And we never used monitors then. I said, I don't want that. I don't need that. You know. But now I've got them like Concord taking off the volume, you know. But it's amazing how things change, you know. I've actually got the proof now that the Eagles supported us. You know, it was a big gig. I think that might have been a Spectrum as well, I think. But it was Billy Preston opened, Steely Dan were on next, then the Eagles, and we were top of the bill, would you believe?
Wow, you know, fabulous.
I remember standing on the side of the stage watching the Eagles. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, God, we've got to go on after these. You know, I mean, that was the biggest thing that failed us in America, really, is because we're totally on the wrong bills. I remember supporting Sly and the Family Stone, would you believe?
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine? That was a total mismatch. You know, but I think the best gigs we did was, would you believe, ZZ Top, and this was in the very early days for them as well. That was before the beards and everything. They were really clean shaven, and they never did sound checks, so we could have as much as we wanted. You know, I mean, their crew were fantastic, and we could have as much as we wanted. But what great blokes, really fantastic blokes, and look at them now. You know, but. No, I don't know. I must tell you this story. They did a one-off gig at Wolverhampton Civic Hall, right? And Dave Hill H went to try and get to see them, to say hello. And now we played with them. It was like probably mid-70s, right? And anyway, the dressing room was probably out of bounds, so I think so. The promoter was waiting with Dave Hill outside the dressing room. He said, "Oh, they're waiting to see you." You know, bullshit. You know, and apparently Dusty Hill came out, and typical Ace was there. "Hi, Dusty, remember we toured together in the States about 1975?" And Dusty's standing there looking with glazed eyes, sort of like rubbing his beard, you know, sort of thing. And he said, "I'm a little bit fuzzy on that one." he wouldn't remember us, you know. I mean, but have you ever seen them, Terry?
I haven't, no, but I remember you telling me about them years ago, because they were huge in Texas, weren't they?
Yeah, fantastic band.
Can I just interrupt? Do we know a Marianne Valkas?
Yeah, it's Brian's girlfriend.
I'm going to admit to them. So Brian might be coming in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just a techie. Ta-da!
There's one. There's Marianne. Well,
we got that, but we got no sound.
Not moving much.
Oh well. Yeah. They'll join in. Terry, how did the Slade audience treat you back in, you know, when that European tour?
Well, I think we did okay, because we were asked to do the next year as well.
Yeah.
But I think the ploy was, if you go on, keep them quiet so they don't riot, and let them talk amongst each other, and keep all the screams until we go off, and then the main acts come on.
You were sort of a bit sort of progressive, and was it 6 Day War and that sort of thing? Did you play? Were you still playing stuff like that?
No, we were a rock band, really. And we did a lot of Joe Cocker stuff. Brian, the singer, who the most famous Joe Cocker song we did was With Little Help from My Friends. And we had the vocals to do that. But it was, we were really sort of a rock band, and we recorded 6 Day War in 1971. And there's a story to that, because we couldn't get arrested in those days. Nobody wanted to know us, so nobody bought it. But about 20 or 30 years later, DJ Shadow, who was an American Canadian DJ, got hold of it. He was riffling through a remainder bin in a record shop, took that out, took the track, and he recorded his own bits on it, and that became a big hit. And it was in films like Phone Booth and Top Gear. It was on all the time.
Yeah,
and then about 5 years after that, or 10 years after that, a Turkish DJ got hold of it, and he did his own bit. And up to now, it's nearly 250 million hits on YouTube.
Bloody hell.
When we've done this, I'll sort it out. I'll stick it on so people can listen to it. I'll put the original track on, because the original track's worth listening to, obviously. Because I listened to that on YouTube. Somebody's put a video to that, so I'll stick that on afterwards.
Oh, great! But that's the sort of number that we did in the recording studio, but we couldn't really do that on stage.
No.
And so we just did rock, because in Liverpool in those days, you had to keep it going. Everybody wanted excitement, and when we were in Germany, we played there a lot. It was Max Shaw, big show. You had to do all that. So jumping up on tables.
Funny enough, interrupting you, Taylor, it was very much the same with us in the early days back in Wolverhampton. You just had to keep the show going. And I was talking about somebody about a year or so ago. We used to do two hour and 15-minute sets without repeating the song. I don't know how we did it. It was unbelievable. The repertoire that we had, it was all covered.
I've got something to tell you, which you may have forgotten, but we knew each other before that, because we used to do a gig in Chester called Quaint Ways.
That's right. You were talking about this, yeah.
Yeah, and we were on the same night, but we were on different floors. So when you were on, we were like, who's this band, from Birmingham? So we all went upstairs, and I thought, flipping heck, they're a bit special, aren't they? Because you were just a terrific band in those days.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great gig. That was one of Quaint Ways.
Oh, was. And so many bands played there who later became famous. Sadly, not us, but you did, and lots of other bands did.
Yeah.
It was a place to go to on a Monday night. It was just fabulous.
Yeah, there's some great gigs around in those days, weren't there? When you think about it, I mean, I was talking, I don't know whether we spoke before, Chris, about this. Even around Wolverhampton, it must be the same in Liverpool, Terry. We could play for about a month in Wolverhampton, different gigs, nearly every night. I mean, pub gigs, and club gigs, but that's all it was then. But I mean, when I go back now, there's nothing there. They've all gone. There are the takeaway Chinese restaurants or Sikh temples. Now, all these places now, they've all gone. I don't know about young bands, what they do these days.
No, it's not that bad up here. There are quite a few venues opening up, little places. And what we're getting also is open mic nights. Where people go, they don't get paid, but they go and they have a little play. And they form a group, and people come along and say, nice. Come and join our band. And there seems to be quite a good scene going on up here now.
Great. I always remember the classic one was, there used to be this zoo in a little town called Dudley, just on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. And there's a zoo there. It was a really popular place, and they got like a typical, I got the restaurant there. And we used to play there Sunday nights at this restaurant, So I mean, there was no stage. It was like a little platform at the end where we put the drums, you know, and put the gear. And we used to see him quite a bit. Robert Plant, you know, and we hadn't seen him for ages because he was from the same area. But he comes along that night when we go, blimey, we haven't seen you for ages. What are you up to? He said, well, Jimmy Page has asked me to join the new Yardbirds, you know, and he says, I don't particularly like the material, but it means I can go to America. And the rest is history. You know, fantastic, really, though, you know.
Yeah.
You did the Cavern, though, didn't you, Terry, quite a few times?
Sorry?
Terry did Colonel Bagshot's incredible bucket band. Who came up with that, Terry?
It was madness. We were all sitting around in a room one day, and it was all down to the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's. And somebody said, well, what about this? And came up with that. And then we all started laughing. And for some reason, we adopted the name, and it sort of stuck. It's the most stupid name ever. But it stuck, you know, and that was it. And it just became Colonel Bagshot in the end.
Yeah, but you did. Excuse me. You were doing the Cavern. You never played the Cavern, did you, Don?
No, Nod did when he was with the Mavericks.
He did with the Mavericks.
With the Mavericks, but we never played it. No.
Yeah, it was a great
working men's club. We played a few working men's clubs, but more or less on the outskirts of Liverpool, Terry. You know, I can't remember why now. Of course, all we kept on doing, asking people was, "Do you know the Beatles? Have you ever met the Beatles?" You know, just like school kids, really.
Yeah.
Funny.
Well,
funny.
When I left school, I went to work in Liverpool in the same building as the Cavern. So in my lunchtime sessions, I used to go down. This was July '61. Beatles had just come back from Hamburg. So I used to go and see them in the lunchtime sessions.
Yeah.
That was just wonderful. And Brian, the singer, he used to come down. I think he was about 12 or 13, and he'd sneak in to watch the bands.
Yeah. Fantastic. But I watched, because I got all those the anthology things, Terry, you know. And I was really, apparently when they came back from Hamburg, when they've been doing quite a bit, that they improved so much. Apparently they were so tight, and you know, whatever. But I never saw them. I never saw the from the anthology, the films of them, and like because you know I did that thing with Ringo, right?
Yeah,
you know?
I knew you were going to mention that.
But but the thing is, I didn't know whether he wanted to talk about the Beatles, whether he was so fed up, if you know what I mean. But he was okay. And we was talking about monitors, and he was saying, like, when they play Shea Stadium, there's no monitors. He said they weren't around then. He said we were playing as a band, like we all did at the start, you know. He said, and they used the house PA as for the system. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think Brian's there trying to get in.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Good?
Oh, can you hear me?
Right, mate. Brian, how are you, mate?
Very not awful.
Yeah, you okay, mate?
Can you hear me, Don?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you as well now.
Because I've just been out to put a shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't come on naked, can I?
You could have combed your hair.
I like that.
Which one?
I like that wallpaper behind you.
Yeah. That's to put the sound out, to stop the fans getting in. Quite casual.
Yeah. We're just saying about you going down to the Cavern when you were 12 or 13, didn't you?
Well, because it wasn't licensed, was it? So there's no problem.
No.
But did you tell him about our Bernadette? Did you?
No, didn't know.
Yeah. Shall I do it?
Sorry?
But yeah, it was my I've got two elder sisters. I'm the younger of the two. She was the one that took me down there. You know, like taking your kid brother out.
Yeah.
And she's on the web, you know, sitting in the front row. The cement mixers, they used to call all the regular fans, you know, on the rickety chairs. And just one night around that time, I don't know what year, there's a knock on our front door. And so I'm like 12, and I went to the front door, opened the front door, it's George Harrison. And because then he's a bloke, he's not Beatle, you know, although he was in the Beatles, but the Beatles were no one. So I've come to see Bernadette. So I'll come in then, mate. And our Bernadette's in the front room under, you know, the old hairdryers, plastic hairdryers there. And you did in those days. I mean, they go to the supermarket in careless now, but you didn't want to get seen in careless then. So like shrieks and runs upstairs and gets all the gear out, you know. Yeah. And then she took him up the road because my sister had the same house as my mother, but it was well, they were younger, so it was a little bit better, you know. So she took him up there, and that brother-in-law had a Polaroid camera, which is like the latest Apple iPhone then, you know. So they put the photo on that, and that's it. And then, like, really, a fortnight later, something like that, another knock on the door, same pretentious kid opens the door. All right, mate, Paul McCartney. Yeah. Because remember them, he'd be, what was he, Terry, 2 years older?
2 years.
I don't know.
He was the baby Beatle, you know. So I brought him in. And for some bizarre reason, I can remember this coat he had on. Because you remember, Don, in those days, there was no such thing as boutiques. You couldn't get jeans or anything, could you?
No.
But he had this dead sharp, 3/4 thick cord coat on. And my dad comes in from the pub. I think the pub's closed at 10 o'clock then. But he came in slightly relaxed, my dad. He'd had a scoop or two, you know. And he gets McCartney breezing the fire. Oh, that's what we called it. You know, when you put a shovel the other way around and you put the newspaper up to the fire.
To draw. We say to draw it.
Draw it, yeah, that's what it was. We used to call it breezing. It was time to go to bed. But my half fellas had a few pints, so he decides it's time to light the fire, you know. Yeah. But it caught, you know, the way it used to, Don, it'd catch fire.
That's it, yeah.
And so that went up in flames. And to me, that's funny now, like, because he's a billionaire. Yeah. And you can't think of him like, you know, trying to draw your fire, you know.
No, it's strange, it is, you know.
I'd have written yesterday, but he couldn't light our fire.
I got all the anthology DVDs when they came out. And it's great to sort of see. And like, I don't know whether you know, Brian, I did a thing with Ringo. It was, and I was talking to him. I didn't know how much he wanted to talk about the Beatles and how much he might be pissed off. But he was sort of saying, when you think in those days, you know, the big arenas that were playing, especially in Slade, no monitors, they weren't around then. You know, they were just, like you said.
Speaker either side.
Yeah, they said we just played. Well, on Shea Stadium, they used the house PA. It was like the elliptical speakers that they used to use for the football commentary. Yeah, you know, sort of thing. And he said no monitors. He said, but like when we all started, you know, so we're just playing as a band. Monitors weren't heard of then, you know.
I
remember when when the band that. When Dave and myself in the first band, we used to have
Is that the in-betweens done?
It was the vendors then, Brian, and it became the in-betweens after. We had a Vox Super Twin, which was incredible. And that's what the Johnny, our singer, used to have that on the front of the stage in front of his speech. That was our PA, you know what I mean? But it's like we had a Watkins Dominator, you know, those sort of blue and grey things, you know, sort of thing. And I think the bass player had like 118-inch. It was I think it was an old radio thing or whatever it was. I don't know, sort of thing. You know, but that's what it was then.
Well, wasn't it fun making your gear, Don? You know, doing your own cabinets, making the cabinets and that.
Yeah.
A thrill. Anything.
Well, I remember when because our original singer Johnny, there used to be a repertory theatre in Bilston. It's gone now. It's a car park now, and there's only Johnny Elder singer and his dad, and they used to do bed and breakfast for the actors who used to do the repertory theatres there. And it was quite a big house, but they had a toilet downstairs, and we used to have the drums in the toilet, my drums in the toilet while we rehearsed, and the rest of the guys were in the front room, and we used to shout at each other what we were going to play, sort of thing. But that's what it was then, you know.
We got 10 minutes.
Okay, all right, yeah. Right, what else do you want to talk about, Chris?
Get back to Colonel Bagshot versus Slade.
Okay.
Who's the best band?
Who are you asking?
Neil, go on.
Oh, it's gone silent.
Has it? Go on, Brian. Who Slade or Colonel Bagshot?
Oh, it's no contest, was it? It was Hickory Tip.
Wow. They became Pink Floyd, didn't they?
Tell you what, Don, that was, I thought, what you told it when you came over to Liverpool, but that gig you did with the Eagles supporting in Steely Dan. Yeah. But you know, when we got that gig with you, I mean, everyone that had supported you before that, they all broke through. That's why we got the gig, because we're Quo, wasn't it? Susie Quattro.
Thin Lizzy, yeah. But what was that guy who was looking after you? Was it Henry Hemroyd?
Later on it was, but I've got a story about the tour, because if you remember at that time, it was a 3-day week, and you couldn't get fuel. You couldn't,
That's right. Yeah, you're only allowed so many gallons, weren't you?
That's right. And we had gigs, and we obviously had to do them to earn some money. I remember once we came back from Southampton and we ran out of fuel in a road, and we actually siphoned enough fuel out from a car that was parked there just to get home. But we did leave 2 £1 notes underneath the windscreen wiper to pay for it.
Yeah.
Which wages?
I remember one gig we played. I can't remember what it was now. It was before became Slade or Ambrose Slade, and we were the in-betweens then. The group that Dave and myself were in, and we played this gig. They fetched us off after about 3 songs, sort of. No, sorry, we just formed with Nod and Jim, but they fetched us off after about 3 songs. And they said the usual thing, they'll never play here again. Yeah, they paid us our 12 quid, and he said they'll never appear here again. He said the best group we ever had here was Steve Brett and the Mavericks. That was the group that Nod left to join us.
To go back to the tour, which is what we were talking about. Things were really bad in England. So when we were offered the chance to go on a 6-week tour with Slade and the promise of doing something, which is what Brian was just talking about, I mean, we jumped at it, but we also thought, well, how are we going to finance it? And what happened was we were told that it would all be sorted out. So we went away on this 6-week tour. As you know, we were flying 2-3 times a day. Yeah. And we were staying in boss hotels, and we were on free booze and free food and everything. And at the end of the tour, we got called into Polydor's office, and they said, well, guys, you owe quite a few £1,000 here. And
really?
And we said, oh, well, we said, well, how are we going to do that? They said, well, we're just going to take it off the royalties that you're signed up for. And we said, well, we haven't signed up for anything, and we hadn't signed a contract with them. So,
nice one.
so that was the end of it. We didn't hear another word.
Really?
So it probably hastened Polydor's demise in England, I would think.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that, Terry. I thought that Chaz was sorting all that out, because when he asked us if you could come on the tour, we said, yeah, no problems. I thought Chaz was sorting things out.
Well, he did. He must have done with Polydor.
Yeah. According to the Liverpool Echo, you got the tour because you'd done a thing at a Polydor corporate do, and Chaz had seen you there. Do you remember that?
It's quite possible. I don't remember it, but yeah.
No, the guy in the Brian.
Don, do you remember? This might have been even before you cracked it as Slade. We played with you in Quateways in Chester.
We were just talking about that.
Because
it went out, did you?
Brian?
I went missing in the middle, Chris. Did you?
It was. There was all sorts of technical. You did well. We'll talk about it afterwards. But yeah, we had a few technical problems.
So you touched on Quateways then.
We'll have to continue this because I'm going to have to end this. And we've done nothing, have we?
We'll have to get another one together.
We'll have to
Chris.
sort another one out.
Yeah,
We'll-
for
we'll-
sure.
Okay.
We'll
This
do a
is
proper
great.
one.
This is good. There's a lot we can talk about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We've only done one gig so far, so in Brussels.
Yeah.
So I'll say thank you to all of you, and I'll tell
Thank
people
you.
go and look underneath because I've got to do some Colonel Bagshot stuff underneath, so you can listen to the music. And I'll say thank you, Brian, thank you, Terry, thank you, Don, and I'll talk
Yeah.
to you on the other side of